Hey everyone, it's Alyssa, and since it is the beginning of August, I thought it might be fun to look back and see what I watched in July because this was my first full month off for the summer for summer vacation. You're gonna see there's a little bit of a missing patch, and that's because I was in Florida for 10 days, so I did not get to really see any movies when I was there. But usually during the summer, I'm watching about 2 to 4 movies every single day. So I'm trying to chip away at not just newer releases, but also things from Criterion, older films, things like that. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of see where I'm at. And then also, almost for myself, to realize, okay, what do I still need to watch this summer that was on that list? Because every single summer I make a list. So starting off with Letterboxd, and you can always follow me. I am Cinema Chic on Letterboxd. I just started doing it this year. I always kind of held off on doing it because I was like, no, I put my list on IMDb. But this is also, it's pretty easy, but I like being able to see what my friends are watching, so it's definitely worth it for that. So, starting off the month, I saw John Wick Chapter 4, and I had just rewatched all the movies from John Wick, and they are so much fun. But the 4th one was just at such a different level. Like, this movie, I wanted it to be so good, but this was even better than I expected, and I won't give any spoilers for anything, but I will just say that one sequence at the end, going up the stairs was just mind-blowingly good, and the choreography in these movies is always so interesting and all the ideas they come up with. So this was just such a great installment in the series, and Keanu Reeves was so great. And I like the additional characters that they had in this one. And usually I don't like when you're adding characters to say like a fourth movie, but I thought everyone was really, really good in this. So I also saw Italian American, which was a film that was recommended from Isabella Rossellini on the Criterion channel. It's a Martin Scorsese short. And I mean, me being an Italian American, I was like, I'm going to watch this. It's about 30 minutes and it's just Martin Scorsese, you know, interviewing and filming his parents. And you get the stories, and the mother has such a strong personality. The dad was really funny. And it was one of these movies that kind of takes you back to your own grandparents or my grandparents, and what they were like and the way that they spoke and their inflections. And everyone who's from Queens and Brooklyn, they have like a very similar, distinctive kind of accent. And so when I would hear his mom talk, it would make me think of my grandma and the way that she would speak in her accent. And it just, I don't know, it was just a really comforting movie. And I would highly documentary, and I would really recommend it, especially if you are Italian American. Next, I saw The Scarecrow, which was also recommended from Isabella Rossellini with the interview that she did on Criterion. And that's just a short from Buster Keaton. It was funny, it was sweet, it had great stunts, as everything that he makes actually does, or at least all of his early work. So that was a lot of fun to watch. So I ended up watching Avatar: The Way of Water. I knew I was going to watch this eventually. Like, it kind of felt like I had to watch this, but this was not good. I could not believe how long this movie was. Like, it felt like it was never ending and nothing was happening. And when it was the whole part with the teenagers and the interacting, like, I basically forget what this movie is about, even though it was so long. I did it because I felt like I should watch it. I was nominated for Best Picture, and a lot of critics like this movie. This I just have literally no connection to this story, and I did not hate the first movie at all. I just felt like there was no need for a sequel, and then one after that, and one after that, one after that, and it will never, never end. But this was, if this is what the rest of them are going to be like, I just won't be watching anymore. It's that simple. And next up, I saw Run Rabbit Run. I gave it 2.5 stars. I will say, I wanted this to be so much better than what it actually was, and it started out really well. I like Sarah Snook. I love an Australian horror movie, so I wanted it to have maybe that Babadook vibe or something because it is a mother and her child, and this was disturbing in a way where it was like, "Oh, no. Like, this is too much." It was slower, not a lot happened. What you find out about Sarah Snook's character at the end of the movie, it just erases any feelings that you have towards her, I'll put it like that. And this was just not the greatest movie. I mean, it was on Netflix. What do I expect? But every once in a while, I do feel like Netflix will have a really good horror movie, and this one being Australian, I fell for it. Next up, this is so I've been going back and forth with The Servant, whether I would give it 4.5 or 5 stars. I try not to give a movie 5 stars right off the bat because I like it to sort of sink in, and I think I would need to watch The Servant again, but I can feel myself starting to lean towards that 5 stars because it was just so different and surreal in a sense. Once you get to the end of the film, this is part of the Criterion collection. I would so recommend watching this. It's directed by Joe Losey. Um, you feel by the end of the film like you're on another planet and you don't even know what's going on anymore. But I would say, about 3 quarters of the movie, it's a very straightforward kind of a storyline, a little bit of like an outsider who gets into a very rich um, house to work as a butler, and then what happens between these two people. It was mind-blowingly good. So that is a huge recommend. The next one, I saw another Criterion. This is actually one that is from my collection, and it's Heaven Can Wait. I never saw it before. It has Gene Tierney, and I basically will watch anything that has Gene Tierney in it. And it was good. It was cute. It was funny. It's about a guy who has passed away, and he thinks he deserves to go to hell with everything that he's done with his life. So he basically talks through his entire life to see if, should he be going to heaven or hell, and how he treated his wife and how he treated people. And it was good. It was a good comedy. I liked it a lot. I really felt like there could have been more Jean Tierney in the movie, or she could have been used a little bit more and had her character a little bit more developed. But I am, the thing to know about me is I am a sucker for movies that are from the 30s and the 40s. That is just always going to be where my heart is. I love the 50s. Like, this is that kind of old Hollywood, so I really still enjoyed it. I gave a rewatch of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang because I knew I was going to want to rewatch The Nice Guys this month because of Barbie. So I was going to watch Ryan Gosling's comedy movies, but then I really do like, oh my goodness, what is Shane Black? I was going to say Jack Black. I'm like, that is definitely not his name. I did want to rewatch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and it is so good, and it is so funny, and it's so well written. And yeah, there's a bunch of offensive parts. I have so much fun seeing Robert Downey Jr. in this movie. I love seeing Val Kilmer in this. I feel like this is probably the last movie that Val Kilmer was actually in that he was himself in, or it's the last one that I can remember anyway. And so I always rewatch this movie once every few years. Next, I ended up seeing Rye Lane, which is currently on Hulu. And this was a movie that was, I believe, at Sundance, and it got a lot of buzz, a lot of great reviews. You'll see, I actually didn't rate it because I was so just like on the fence with where I felt about this movie. I liked it a lot. And I think the problem with it is they were like, it's like Before Sunrise. It's not like Before Sunrise. This movie is definitely not that sort of a tone. It's way more funny than Before Sunrise is. And if I knew that it was funny going into it, then that would have been probably like a better way to go into the movie. But it was so creative. The two leads in that movie had so much chemistry. They were so funny together, but very emotional. Like, I thought the acting in that film was incredible. Was it maybe one too many fisheye lens for me? Yeah, maybe it actually was, but it was the kind of movie that was exciting to see. Like, this is coming out and this got made. I feel like at the end of the day, I'm between that 3.5 and 4 stars. It was definitely above average. I would definitely recommend watching this movie. I loved the style and the feel of most of it. Um, like I said, there were just a few angles where it was like, wow, this is I don't know if I'm getting it, like, exactly why they chose certain angles, but the story was great, acting was great. I also My husband and I have been going through and catching up on any of the Black Mirrors that we never have seen, and we've never seen the USS Callister, and that was definitely one of my top favorite stories that they've ever created. Jesse Plemons was amazing. The way the storyline came together at the end and how they actually even take that story and they connect it into the Black Museum episode for Black Mirror, like later in the season. I just thought everything about this was one of the best stories they've ever created. And I love Black Mirror to begin with. I also saw it was a two-part series. So it was, and then there were none. So it's the Agatha Christie story. I wanted just to see this adaptation because I'm teaching the novel this year. So that's why it has no real like star rating because it feels more school related. So it's hard to review things like that. Next up, I saw Reversal of Fortune. This is one of those movies that I always remembered the poster when I was a kid, and I was too young to watch it. And so I saw it was leaving Canopy. Canopy, one of the greatest apps. I feel like I talk about Canopy a lot, but it's because I don't know that many people who actually have Canopy, and I will never understand why. It's free. You get it through your library. You get 20 viewings per month. They have a whole section that's like a Criterion section. So a lot of these also came from Canopy. So I saw a Reversal of Fortune there, and it was 3.5. It was a good thriller. It was a good like courtroom drama. Glenn Close dies in the beginning of the movie. It seems like the husband has done it, and then the lawyer comes in to defend this guy and try to like uncover the mystery. It's based on a true story. Jeremy Irons always is so good, but it's somewhat standard, but with way better actors than you would ever expect for this kind of a movie, but almost the kind of story you would expect to see on a Netflix movie, like made for Netflix movie. And speaking of Netflix, I also saw the Wham documentary, and I just really liked it a lot. I love George Michael. I loved Wham. I remember my mom playing Wham and George Michael in the house all of the time. We'd be in the car, she'd be playing it, in the house, she'd be playing it. So I just remember being a kid and dancing to this. And it was interesting to hear the story and what happened between the two guys and how much they really always were such great friends, and how George Michael kind of it was inevitable that he was going to have to leave because he was becoming so much bigger and he has so much talent. But it was great, and the music got stuck in my head for probably about a week. Next up, saw Frantic with Harrison Ford. Wanted to see this one in particular because I had seen something about him being method for this particular film, and I just wanted to see how he'd be in it. It was a good thriller movie. He was really good in it. It's got a little bit of like Taken vibes. It's, Harrison Ford is in Paris with his wife. He's going to a medical convention, and his wife says something to him while he's in the shower, and she leaves the hotel room, and all of a sudden she's missing. And so the whole movie is him trying to find his wife, uncover why she went missing. There's something with a suitcase. It's a good movie. I would definitely recommend it. Maybe not the like classic story I thought it was going to be, but it was still good. Then I saw Archangel, which was the Black Mirror episode about the parent who has like the implant on the child so that she can see everything her kid is doing. It was good. It was decent. I liked what it was saying. The mother made a little like no sense to me. It was a little repetitive, so not my favorite, but not a bad one. And then I got into The Nice Guys. I think The Nice Guys is one of the most underrated comedies I've ever seen. Like, every time I watch it, beat for beat, it is so funny. I also love, like, detectives, I love noirs, but I love when it's, like, a comedy version of that. I don't like the '70s, but I do like '70s detective movies, so it just hits everything, and Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe have the best chemistry in the movie. I love that there's no, like, real, like, female interest, and that the female character is actually Ryan Gosling's daughter in the movie, and she is so good. I forget her name, but she's in Spider-Man. She's so good in the movie. She steals so many scenes. It's just a really great comedy. I own this, but I know that it's playing on Netflix right now. Also, because I was gonna go on the and I did go on the Tron roller coaster at Disney. I wanted to see Tron Legacy, so I'd be kind of prepared for, the ride. Not that I needed to see it at all, but, it's a good movie. It's directed by the same person who did Top Gun: Maverick. I think Joe something, I'm forgetting his name. But it's a good movie, and Olivia Wilde is kind of my favorite part of the movie. I also love Jeff Bridges. I will say some of the CGI with the de-aging and that doesn't work as well anymore. You can really notice it. And I remember when it came out in 2010, it was like, wow, this looks great. And it's just so funny how our eyes like shift and get used to the CGI and it looks so ridiculous. Then next I saw The Accidental Tours. Honestly, I think maybe I'm being a little bit generous with 3.5 stars. It's probably more of a 3-star movie now that it like settled and I really, sat on it now for a bit. This was a movie nominated for a lot of Academy Awards. It was on Canopy. It was leaving Canopy. It's with William Hurt. Gina Davis is in it, Kathleen Turner. And it was just okay, and it's about this guy who's a travel writer, and he doesn't wanna make connections to anyone, and his wife has left him, and he meets Gina Davis, who is definitely the manic pixie dream girl archetype, and even, like, this movie was made when is this made? 1988, there you go. I'm not saying she's not the original. I'm sure there's one before this, but one of the earlier Manic Pixie Dream Girls. And she's quirky and she's weird, and she helps him to learn a lot about himself and get over the fact that, not get over, but like accept the fact that his son has passed away. It was just okay. Next, I don't love, reading documentaries. I don't know why I find it difficult, but, Rock Hudson, All That Heaven Allowed, it was it was interesting to see a documentary on Rock Hudson. I love him, I love his movies. It was I knew a lot about him anyway, so I'm not saying I learned a ton from the documentary, but it was also really interesting how they really found the perfect clips, to show how he was always hiding a part of himself, how he chose characters that were hiding parts of themselves, and, how he always had to pretend to be one person, but he wasn't that person at all. It is definitely fascinating. I think Rock Hudson is a better actor than he gets credit for. I love him in the Douglas Sirk movies. I also love him in the movies with Doris Day. I think they are so good together, and it's always funny to give those movies a rewatch, like Pillow Talk, because you see that it's like he's pretending to be a gay man, but the character is straight, but the actor is gay, and it's just what was going on in his head when he was making these movies? I just always wonder that. I also saw Easy A because it's a really easy, fun movie to watch, and I love Emma Stone. It was on Netflix. Also on Netflix, I saw during the trip Bridesmaids because that was very easy to watch. I gave a rewatch of Ghost World because that's part of the Criterion collection, and I saw it on the Criterion channel. And it's good. I actually liked it better than when I've seen it in times past. I never like a million percent related to the characters in this movie, either of the characters. And so it was always like, yeah, I don't know if I love it, but now that I'm older, I actually appreciated the movie a lot more. And, the odd situation of the relationship between, I mean, odd is maybe a kind way of saying it, between Steve Buscemi and, um, Thora Birch's character. But I also saw Crazy Stupid Love. I think it's a really great comedy. It's not perfect. There's a lot of problematic things where it's just like, does this really even need to be part of the storyline? There's so many like sub stories going on in that it is so busy, and I think it would have helped to have just kind of focused in on just a few of the main storylines and not go so off track. But the end of that is just so funny. It gets me every time. Uh, saw Hang the DJ, which I always heard was such a good episode of Black Mirror, and it was. It was great. I thought the end was interesting. I know the end is kind of polarizing, but I thought it was kind of a funny way to end the episode. Also continuing on Criterion, I saw Hedwig and the Angry Inch. That was on Canopy. I saw that was leaving. I'd never seen this movie before. There was a lot I liked about it. There was a lot I didn't like about it, and that is why it has no review at all. There were things where I I just didn't feel comfortable with certain aspects of the storyline, and I didn't love the music, which I know is no one will ever agree with me on that, but that's fine. I saw the Black Museum episode of Black Mirror. I thought that was way better than I expected it to be, even just like reading it. Um, 7 Days was a COVID movie that I found on Hulu, but it was actually better than I thought it would be. So if you just wanted to like I won't even say light, it's not super light, but a lighter romantic comedy, I thought it was good. I saw the anniversary party that was with Jennifer Jason Leigh and Alan Cumming. They wrote it together. It was good. It was fine. It kind of felt like a bunch of friends hanging out, what making like a digital film. It's fine. You don't need to see it. I did watch Nanny because I saw that Nanny was going to be part of the Criterion collection. That's on Amazon Prime right now, and it's coming out with a physical copy in October. And they market it as a horror movie. It's not really a horror movie, and I think that's why it has sort of lower ratings when I'm looking at it on IMDb and Letterboxd not quite as much, but I loved it. It was surreal. It was beautiful. It's about a woman from Senegal who uh, is working for a very rich woman played by Michelle Monaghan, I think it is, in New York City, and she is watching her child while her child is at home, and she's trying to make enough money to bring her child from Senegal over to New York, and it was really well made. It's slow. It's got a lo-fi feel. I feel like if you don't like that, you won't like this movie. I almost feel like It Comes at Night, like it has that sort of a slowness. So if you didn't like It Comes at Night, I don't think you will like Nanny. But I really connected to it. I thought the main actress was excellent in the film. I thought the cinematography was beautiful in the film. And then next up, I saw Velvet Goldmine. I This is a movie that I actually think got better with age because I used to watch it when I was like a teenager, early 20s, because I was obsessed with England and I loved anything that was coming out of England, whether it was like the Full Monty or Sense and Sensibility or Train Spotting or Velvet Goldmine, like it didn't matter. But I never loved glam rock when I was younger, but I actually like it more now. And this is sort of like it's like a fan fiction Todd Haynes version of David Bowie and Iggy Pop, and if they had a relationship. And it's nothing is really based in any sort of truth at all. So if you just go into it with like the fun of it and the music in this is amazing. It's fantastic. Jonathan Rhys Meyers is good in it. I think he's the thing that gives it the 4.5 and not the 5 for me, because he doesn't. I don't quite believe him as that character, but what I love about the movie is that there's Christian Bale is in it, and it's set up so much like Citizen Kane. And the structure of the movie is a journalist who is going around trying to find out the life of this guy who is like a David Bowie-esque figure who just disappeared and what happened to him. And he goes and he interviews all these people who are in his life and he tries to put the pieces together. But what's interesting is the Christian Bale character actually had an interaction with these people in his life and they were really important to him growing up. And it sort of bridges that gap between art and how artists affect people, and they don't necessarily even realize the effect that they have on people, positive or negative, and how they the music, or, whether it's a movie, music, art, literature, how it changes their lives. So I really enjoyed it, and I liked it way more than I thought I would, even though I've seen it a bunch of times. I saw Night Moves on Criterion. It was leaving Criterion. It's with Gene Hackman. It's a neo-noir detective story, and it was just okay. I liked it. It was fine. It was good. I've seen way better. It got great reviews. A lot of people love this movie. I just literally did not I just wasn't that into it. No real particular reason. I did see from my Criterion collection that I own The Awful Truth, and that's with Cary Grant, and Irene Dunn, and I loved that movie. I thought it was so funny, so easy to watch. I love screwballs. That is one of my favorite things, just like comfort food is any kind of a screwball comedy, especially with Cary Grant. And this is all about Cary Grant thinks that his wife Irene Dunn has cheated on him while he was away on vacation, and I mean, I feel like you could kind of figure out it's probably not the case. It's not true. It's not what happened. But then a bunch of crazy things happen, and it's just so worth it. So worth the watch. I actually saw Barbie twice, once by myself because I was really selfish and wanted to see it with the Dolby and not just on a regular screen. And it was the last day that they were playing it at my theater. So, and I did a whole review on that. There's a lot I liked. There are some things that I didn't love about the script. But all in all, can't get that Ken song out of my head still. I ended up seeing The African Queen for the first time, and it was good. It was just good for me. I love Katharine Hepburn. She's probably my favorite actress from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And I love Humphrey Bogart. And it was good, and the action was good, and their chemistry was good. I just it was just very predictable feeling for me, and I probably have to watch it again, and I'm not gonna lie, was very sick, like, at that moment in time, and I definitely fell asleep for a little bit of it, so I would definitely watch it again. Then I saw it was a short film, What Would Sophia Loren Do, on Netflix. A nice way to pass 35 minutes. I've also been watching all the Mission Impossible because I'm going to see the new Mission Impossible in the theater. So Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I like all of these. These are all in like the 4 stars kind of realm for me. And I know tonight or tomorrow I'm going to watch Fallout because I think I will soon be watching the new one. And then rewatch of Catch a Thief, which is we'll stop right there. To Catch a Thief, which is just a fun Alfred Hitchcock, not one of my favorite ones, but once again, it's Cary Grant, it's Grace Kelly. You're in the French Riviera. How could you dislike this movie? It's so beautiful looking, and the remastering of it looks amazing. I also saw Blind Spotting, which is, I think, such an underrated movie. Like they made it into a TV show on Stars. I never saw the TV show because it is a TV show, but the film by David Diggs and Raphael, I want to say Casal, I think that's his name. This is so punchy, so good. It has so much energy. The transitions are amazing. It is about David Diggs' character and the last 3 days that he has as he is on probation, and just like the utter fear that he has, especially when his best friend is such like a live wire and you never know what he's going to do. This is such a well-made movie. And I rewatched last month Do the Right Thing, and there's like certain elements of it that remind me of that, but the ending of Blind Spotting is it takes your breath away a little bit. Also, I saw from my Criterion collection the one of the great, to me, screwball comedies, My Man Godfrey with William Powell. It was amazing. I thought it was hysterical. A movie like this would never get made today. The storyline would never be allowed to get made. But man, is it funny. It's such a funny film. And then I ended the month really not in a great spot watching. There's this movie, Jumbo. I had always heard of it. I remember when it came out at Sundance, and it's this woman and she falls in love with a theme park attraction. I was like, wow, that is bizarre. I'm curious. I'm gonna watch it. And it was really boring. Like, it was beautifully shot. It was such a boring movie. I'm never the kind of person who's just, like, on my phone for the entire movie. I I knew every single thing that was going on, even with subtitles, and I was barely watching it. I just did not feel that vibe for whatever reason. But kudos for making a story like that. And then I saw 47 Ronin on Netflix. I love Keanu Reeves. This movie was so boring. This movie was so boring. And it just, I do not think this is the actual story of 47 Ronin in Japanese culture. There's no way. It was a movie that exists that has Keanu Reeves, and that's about it. And that's what I saw for July. You could probably see there's a huge chunk, week and a half that's just missing there. But got to see a lot of the criterions I had on my list. Would love to know what all of you saw this past month. Also, sorry if my voice is not 100%. I should be fine at this point, but it's been weeks that I'm just not losing this congestion for whatever reason. Um, Definitely feel like it probably got in Florida. So anyway, hope everyone is doing well. Would love to hear what you saw this past month, or anything that you got. I only got one film from the Criterion sale, but if you got any movies from there and you saw them, I would love to hear about that because I'm always trying to expand the list for Criterions. And thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye.